Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees. My next guest is an addict. Not that type of addict, a baseball card addict. He actually wrote a book about it, Confessions of a Baseball Card Addict. His name is Tanner Jones. I'm going to bring him on. Hi, Tanner. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure having you on again. People can follow you on Twitter at TanmanBBFan, of course, and check out your website, TanmanBaseballFan.com. So again, pleasure to have you here. And the reason I wanted to have you on is that I kind of got away from it, but again, growing up, I was a big baseball card fan, and you're like the ultimate baseball card fan. You're actually a self-proclaimed baseball card addict.
Yeah, pretty much. I love cardboard. As I've said in my book, cardboard runs in my veins for sure.
Now, you documented this, I guess, in a book that came out like a couple of years ago, Confessions of a Baseball Card Addict. So, what just made you sort of say, hey, I want to just tell this in a story for people?
Yeah, I've always wanted to write a book. And several years ago, I'm actually a web developer by trade. And so I wrote a business book, which was really kind of just more of a glorified marketing piece, many years ago. And it just didn't scratch that itch. I really, really wanted to write something that I was passionate about. And so years ago, I started thinking, well, I'm like more passionate about baseball cards than pretty much everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit down and just going to start writing down my stories. I had a blog. I started up many, many years ago. It's on Blogspot. I don't know if you remember Blogspot or not.
Yeah, I used to use it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was called 6 Million Cards and Counting, I think. And the name of it was because I actually did a deal with somebody years and years and years ago for 6 million baseball cards. And, and that deal has still not come to completion, by the way. I'm actually supposed to be doing a pickup of cards from this deal this next week. I was sick this last week and I was going to pick up some more, but this started like over a decade ago. And so I just filled my minivan up with the guy that I did deal with full of sports cards, bring it back home and enjoy them and, trade or sell them or do whatever I want to do. And so years ago, I said, why don't I start a blog with this and just start talking about the finds that I've made or the deals I've purchased, and ended up kind of blossoming into my own website, TanmanBaseballFan.com. And I said, well, the next thing for me to do really is write a book about it and everything. So so that's kind of where I got the start for the book, at least. And it was fun. I really loved writing it, and it was a labor of love. I mean, I haven't become rich or anything off of it whatsoever. But hey, if you want to make hundreds of dollars, definitely write a book. That's a good way of going.
And the book, again, Tanner Jones, Confessions of a Baseball Card Addict, on Amazon. Of course, your website, as you mentioned before, TanmanBaseballFan.com. You also, you blog there a little bit too, I noticed, it's telling some funny stories, as well as you have your own podcast. So people can check that as well, just, telling some of these stories. Now, let's just go back a little bit. Now, so baseball cards, I was assuming as your kid, you liked them. Now, was a situation where, you were into it as a kid and then maybe got away from it, and then as an adult kind of got your passion back, or were you just always into baseball cards?
Yeah, so my journey is really not unlike pretty much everybody my age when it comes to baseball cards. When I was a kid, so mainly through the ages of 9 to 12 or 13. So we're talking about 89 to 92 or 93 for the most part. That's when I was really, really white hot about baseball cards. Then, life growing up kind of came in, crept into my life. So I was interested in girls and church activities and school and friends and that sort of thing. And so I kind of walked away and just put all the stuff, all my baseball cards in my closet, and really didn't think about it much until I want to say I was probably about 26 or so.
You just don't collect packs, you also collect some high value cards. And I think I saw on your Twitter, maybe last month, you sold actually a Lou Gehrig card. Is that correct? So you kind of deal with some high, really big ticket cards as well.
Yeah, so the two areas in this hobby that I'm like super passionate about are really rare high-end Jose Canseco baseball cards. I love those. I just really love those. But also the next thing that I really, really love almost as much is vintage. And so, but not just vintage, but it has to be key cards that are high-end cards that have like a low grade. So for instance, if something is graded at PSA 1, 2, or 3, or SGC 1, 2, or 3, if the eye appeal is there, then it's really for me. And mainly the guys I stick with I love 19th century. So I love pretty much anything in the 19th century as far as Hall of Famers go. But for the early 20th century, the pre-war guys, Honest Wagner, Ty Cobb, Babe Ruth, Walter Johnson, Shoeless Joe Jackson, Christy Mathewson, those are the guys I really like the most.
All right. And what would you say is like the oldest card you have? Again, you mentioned the 19th century.
Yeah, so I've got a number of them from the flip on the SGC label, I think says 1886. So it's probably 1886, 1887. I've got a number of 19th century cards. I have the 1888 Allen and Ginter set of baseball cards. It's 10. 1888 Goodwin, which is a set of 8 baseball cards. I have that. 1889 Goodwin, the A35 rounds, gorgeous lithographs. I have those. And a few old Judge cards, and so yeah, I really enjoy 19th century. It's one of those periods of time in baseball that we don't have really any video or audio to go off of, so a lot of it just kind of feels like legend, as if like somebody's talking about medieval times or something, but it's not. These players in the 19th century, they have so many amazing stories. And even the stories of the actual baseball cards themselves. I mean, I really enjoy the heck out of it.
And I think one of your recent podcasts, you actually got into how they used to make cards back then. Could you share like the process of just how they used to manufacture cards?
Yeah, let me show you kind of 2 of them here.
Oh,
so this is my favorite baseball player in the 19th century. It's Mike King Kelly. Okay, so this is 1888 Goodwin. And it's a lithograph. So what they would do on these, and I've got to kind of refresh myself on this, because you're actually talking about the old Judge cards I talked about on the podcast. So I'll start off with this instead, actually. So this, as you can see, is a photograph. This is not. This is a lithograph. So this is basically art. This is a picture. So what they would do is they would take a bunch of cabinet-sized pictures. They're like this big. Of this, and they would do it in a 6x4 matrix all across like this. And so if you take a look at this card, you can see that it's got a border, it's got a background, and it's got the name Old Judge Cigarettes on there. So they would actually put that as the mat on top of the photographs, and they would take a camera and step back and take a picture of the entire matrix. And from there, you'd have like a sheet of these here, and then they would hand cut them. And that's where they would put these, 1 per cigarette pack or something. So it's phenomenal to me. I love this stuff. I love hearing about how they created these cards, and how there was so much of a human touch in it back then. And that's really the birthplace of our hobby, is really kind of in the 1880s. Now we have some other cards that are considered baseball cards from the 1860s and 70s, but as far as nationally offered as as a selling piece for cigarettes or whatever, this is really kind of the start of it for the most part. I love it. It's wildly different from like what Topps or Panini or Leaf does now. So it's fascinating to me.
no, thanks for sharing that. And I kind of what you want to get at it too. I mean, do you like these newer cards? Because sometimes I see them, they're all like, holograms, stuff like that. And I just don't feel any appeal to them. I like a good old 1988 Donruss card just to look at it. But these new cards, I don't know. I don't like looking at them, but what's your opinion on that?
Yeah. So, it's hard for me because this hobby has, you can really have like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 distinct different types of collectors in this hobby itself. So if you say I collect baseball cards, and I say I collect baseball cards, we might not ever intersect, because not only do you have 19th century stuff, you also have turn of the century, 20th century cards like T206s, and then you go into like Cracker Jacks, and you have the Gowdies in 1933, and then in the 50s you can have like Topps and Bowman, and then you go into what they call the junk wax era, because they produce so much stuff in the 80s. So we're talking mid 80s to mid 90s for the most part. The heart of that era is 88 to 92. Where it's been estimated, for instance, for Topps in 1991, I've heard that they made as many as 2 to 5 million 1991 tops of every single card. That blows my mind. So, and that's really kind of where I grew up, and that's what really got me sucked into this hobby. So I will always love that. But then you move into like the mid to late 90s to early 2000s. They have like the most beautiful pieces of artwork you've ever seen. I mean, they're just incredible innovation that's been born out of uh, really out of competition, where we don't have that anymore really as far as competition goes, because Topps is the only one that has a license. But so you progress forward into the timeline, and you have all kinds of these amazing high-end bat barrel cards and bat knob cards and button cards and jumbo patch cards. Like literally everything just makes my jaw drop of what they do these days. But I have so much love for like 89 Fleer, 90 Tops. I love that stuff also. As a matter of fact, last night I was laying in bed, I was thinking, I'd love to get a box of 89 Score and Donruss and Tops, not even necessarily just to open it, but just to have it, to be able to feel the packs. Take a box of 1990 Score, for instance. Do you remember 90 Score? You remember the packs?
I remember the pack. I remember I remember the Score cards though, but I don't like. I think when I was a kid, I just ripped the pack off and as I kept the cards and I put a rubber band around it. So I don't remember the actual covers for most of those cards back then.
Yeah, nobody really remembers that. But like for us, that's kind of the piece of the puzzle that I think a lot of us forget about is the wrappers. So 90 Score, I wish I had a pack of 90 Score to show you here, but they had like this beautiful bright yellow packaging, and it was amazing. So I would love to get some of that, and they're actually pretty fairly affordable as well. As far as the boxes go, from 89, 90, 91. So that's on my radar. I'm going to pick up a few of those boxes eventually for sure.
And just mentioning, buying, selling cards. I mean, would you have any tips, to sort of lessons you would or advice you give people who trade cards, whether it's online or if they do it at a card show? Any knowledge you could pass, or any tips or things that you would recommend to people?
Yeah. Number one, research the heck out of what you're doing. Know the value really well. If you're trying to make money off of this, I've been fortunate enough to make a good amount of money in this hobby. But I don't think it's because I set out to really make money out of this hobby. It's because I love it so much. And it's because of my passion that I was actually driven to do a boatload of research. I mean, I do research on pretty much everything when it comes to this hobby. So if you have some cards and you're looking to make some money, research the heck out of it, and really kind of know this area. And if you can do that, then I think you can make a good amount of money in this hobby. But I would say, maybe put that in the back seat. Really, really let the driver be your love and your passion for the hobby for sure. There's so much to love here. There just really is.
That's an excellent point. So again, a couple times you mentioned Jose Canseco. Now, I guess how did you become a super fan of Jose Canseco? And you can just kind of give us the story how you ultimately got to meet him, actually going over to his house.
Yeah, I think everybody and their brother knows this now. But what's really funny is I don't talk about it a whole lot because it was like the greatest thing that's ever happened to me in this hobby. Was being able to meet him. But it was about 6 years ago now. And I have people I run across all the time when they find out, they're like, wait, you're on the cover of Beckett magazine, and wait, you're actually at Canseco's house? That's crazy. I had no idea. So it's kind of a little fun thing to retell. So I'm happy to retell it. But yeah, he was the guy that really kind of got me interested and excited in baseball, because he was the guy that he would come up to bat and everybody in the room would stop what they're doing because they would love to see that swing. His swing was absolutely violent. And if he connected, man, that ball flew. There's a guy that I don't remember the name. I think his name is Dave. He's a photographer. I actually shared a picture of his that he took just a couple days ago on Twitter and Facebook. Actually, he took a picture of where the ball landed in the 89 ACLS or ALCS, where Canseco launched this ball in the upper deck in the Sky Dome in Toronto. And it just kind of reminded me like how much fun it was to watch Jose play. Like that ball traveled like nearly 500 feet. It was incredible. And so you knew that whenever he was going to connect, it was going to go a long way or he was going to hurt his back. There's really kind of no in between. And so you think of guys like Ken Griffey Jr. or Will Clark. They have these beautiful swings, like just it's a symphony whenever they swing. When Canseco swings, it's like heavy metal. Like it's just incredible. And whether he hit a home run or struck out, he was always entertaining. And so he had a lot of similarities with this guy, King Kelly, from 100 years prior, in that both of them actually transcended the sport. They kind of overfilled into pop culture. And so everybody knew about the whole, like, oh, Canseco was pulled over for speeding, or he's dating Madonna, or he was just always coming out of the cup or the shelter of baseball, and it was always in the newspaper or whatever. And so Jose was a household name where most baseball players weren't really household names, and which is why he had like a record contract at the time. And it was fun. So that's why I was really excited about getting into baseball, and baseball cards was really because of Canseco. And so a couple of years ago, a few years ago, I started thinking, what's something huge that I can do? And I started thinking, man, I'm creating my own custom baseball cards for my collection. I love doing this, but what would be the ultimate thing to do? What if I get Jose to sign these? I started thinking, what if I get Jose to sign these in person so I can show him my little works of art? So I reached out to his manager, and we went back and forth for months, but we finally had it worked out. And so long story short, we ended up taking a road trip, me and my family, to Jose Canseco's house, and he had us over, and we spent the afternoon at his house, and he allowed us to we just hung out with him. It was really neat. He had us feed his animals. He and his girlfriend at the time made us cupcakes, and we're eating them. And he was narrating home runs for us on video, and it was a blast. It was incredible. He was such a nice guy. Like, there's a bunch of people, like, he very well might be the most hated person in baseball, which is unfortunate, because he really is just a nice guy. And I really, really enjoyed that time with him.
Yeah, and I totally agree. I think A-Rod had that a little bit too, of just like whatever you're doing, you stop to watch his at bat. And I remember the Canseco bat. I think when he was the Yankees for that 1 year. I think his first home run, he just crushed it into the upper deck. And again, that's kind of later in his career. But yeah, during the '80s, yeah, definitely. Those like one of the guys, even like Cecil Fielder too, a little bit. Like either they hit a home run or strike out, but you always watch no matter what.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And you just got to before you also on your website, and again, people can check it out. tanmanbaseballfan.com. You also create cards. Now, do you just create them for yourself, or like can people order a custom card? Let's say if they want to, for like a birthday gift or something like that.
Yeah, sometimes people will commission me to do cards as well. I'm actually doing a run for somebody that they want to marry up T206 cards with that player's autograph. So I've been doing some booklets for this guy. I just got through doing a few wedding jumbo cards that have like little relics from the wedding itself embedded. So it's just, I really enjoy this stuff. It's fun. But yeah, I started out really just for my own collection. I've done all kinds of Canseco cards. They're custom. And what I used is when I was actually at Jose's house, I had him try on a jersey of every team that he's been on, a hat. I've had him try on cleats, all kinds of things. So that way I can cut them up myself and put them in my own cards to say that they're player worn cards. Obviously not game used, because he didn't use them in the game. But I figured, hey, if these other card companies are doing things that say player worn, why can't I for my own collection as well?
And you've also, just looking at your website, you had some funny stories. You actually sold, well, at least sold to put up some kind of funny cards on eBay. And actually, you got some hits for it. But I think one was like an invisible card, and then one was actually an autograph of yourself, and like someone actually bidded for it.
Yeah, and what's really funny, this is probably maybe a decade or so ago. I did this fake press release of something called an Invisifractor. And it was a Bryce Harper Invisifractor. And so what it was is it was literally a top loader, and that was it. And so I put up this huge thing. Everything on the press release that I wrote was tongue in cheek, but I put a picture of the top loader, put it on eBay, and people started bidding. I go, oh no. And it got up to like, I don't remember exactly what the end price was, but I ended up doing a video and just to say, okay, everybody, this is just a top loader. Like it's literally, this is it. So this is a joke. Just to let you know, whoever wins this, number one, you have absolutely no obligation to pay for it. But number two, if you do, all of it's going to charity. Okay. I don't want to scam somebody by saying, hey, here's a top loader for X amount of dollars. So it was fun. And interestingly enough that you bring this up now, I saw somebody that was an Italian artist or something like that recently sold an invisible sculpture or something for $18,000 on eBay recently. So I don't really know. I mean, I don't really know anything else about that. I just remember it made headlines, which is just crazy to me.
Yeah. And just getting into that, and again, we have a lot of technology, can probably duplicate old cards, stuff like that. But like what, to spot a real card versus a fake card, let's say someone was like a fake, 52 mantle or something. Like what should people look out for just to know if a card's legit or not?
Well, so it really depends on the type of the card itself, because there are different technologies that have been used throughout the years. So one good thing to do is number one, use common sense. If somebody is selling a 52 mantle PSA 5 for $1,000 and the guy's got zero feedback, probably not a good idea to click buy it now. But aside from common sense, remember if they say if something's looks too good to be true, it probably is. Totally applicable in the baseball card space for sure. But yeah, like I said, a lot of baseball card technology, different technologies have been used throughout the years. I like using this here. This is I don't remember what you call it, but you pop it out and you can put a baseball card under magnification. Now, the number one thing is you have to really kind of know what you're looking for. So use Google, definitely. Do your due diligence before buying vintage or really even new cards, because there's a lot of people, what they'll do is they will take even like a Mike Trout, for instance, like a Mike Trout 2011 Topps Diamond. If you had the real thing and you rock it back and forth in the light, it'll refract light. It'll show different things like the shimmer of the actual foil. Some people, what they do is they'll literally photocopy the card and then they'll cut it out and then they'll sell it as a reprint. Now, the problem with that is after somebody does that and they might say, oh yeah, it's a reprint and I just photocopied it. Well, once that leaves their hands, the next person, they might not say that and they might sell it as the real thing. Now, so always, always, always buyer beware, for sure. But, one quick telltale sign on that card is if it doesn't refract light or anything, then it's not real. But, one other good thing you want to do, especially buying vintage or any other type of high-end card, is maybe pick up a few common cards, of that same set and really kind of compare the two. Feel the card stock, put it underneath magnification. Are the print dots the same type? Because there's a whole lot. Like you could fill a book, with trying to figure out how to do this sort of thing. But it's really not too terribly difficult. You just got to really kind of dig in and do research for sure.
And I had a previous interview, with a gentleman by the name of Jeff Cass, who's actually the former mayor of Cooperstown, and he mentioned that the baseball card industry overall has gone up a little bit, mainly because people have been getting like some stimulus checks and unemployment, and some people have some more money to throw around a little bit. But kind of what is like maybe the pulse of the baseball card market right now? Is it kind of trending up, trending down? Anything you see?
Yeah, so I see a lot of threads that have been made. Like, is the card market crashing right now? Oh no, the sky's falling. And all this. There's a lot of people that are worried about it. Which I guess if you're not truly in love with baseball cards, then you probably should worry a little bit if how far, like wherever the market goes. For me personally, I'm here to stay. I'm just enjoying the ride. I mean, if the market goes high, then you sell some. If the market goes low, then that's when you buy even more. Just like anything else, buy low, sell high. But yeah, I've heard that there have been a lot of people saying that they're afraid that the market's crashing. I don't think the market's crashing at all. I think the market is correcting itself a little. But I think what we're going to see going forward is I think we're going to see a gradual increase. We've seen some massive flares of big time sales. Like we've seen PSA 10 Jordan Flair rookie. I think a couple of them sold for $650,000 or something. And everybody likes to put that as like the benchmark. This is where we're at now. And then so you have the next ones that are like in the $300,000 or $400,000 range, and people say, "Oh no, it's crashing." Well, no, because these were outliers up here, So I think we're going to continue to see this, especially in the next, handful of years. I think personally, because I think there's a lot of new money that's coming in where people are starting to think, "Hey, these baseball cards really are cool. They're works of art. They're limited. They're awesome. They're fun to show off to friends." There's a lot of people that if they're in financial dire straits, I think there's a lot of people out there that are going to sell their third car before they sell their Mickey Mantle or Babe Ruth. And so, I think we've got a very bright outlook for the hobby for sure.
Yeah, I'm on the same page with that. Like, I had some money, like I had like the 74 Dave Winfield rookie. At one point, I think it was 275, and then like it dropped down from like 40 something dollars. But like either way, I would never sell it because it's just they're my cards. I had some Reggie Jackson rookies. Again, they went down in value, but they maybe creeped a little bit up. But again, myself, I would just never sell them because not as passionate as you, but I just like it just to have the card, regardless. And I'm totally right there. Like I would rather be homeless and have my Mickey Mantle than sell my mantle if I in that case.
Absolutely, yeah. If I had a fun car in the garage that's like a Corvette or something like that. I love Corvettes. Don't get me wrong. I love Corvettes. I love Camaros. I love Trans Ams and Mustangs. But guess what? Guess what's getting the boot if push comes to shove? It's the car, not the cards. I love the cards too much. I really enjoy them. They're fun.
Well, Tanner, again, appreciate jumping on. Again, people could check out your book, Confession to Other Baseball Card Addict, available on Amazon. Follow you on Twitter at TanmanBBFan. And of course, check out your website, which has links to all this stuff. And again, if you want to get a custom card or something like that, or just check out some of your funny stories, TanmanBaseballFan.com. So I'm going to give you, just give me one card that's just your all-time favorite. What is that one card?
I've got to say it's probably a 20-way tie. I really don't know. I'll tell you one thing that I do like is in 1899, Honus Wagner rookie. It's an M101-1 Sporting News. It's a bigger card. It's like about this big. It's graded by Beckett. That's probably one that I would probably show off the most if I were to show somebody that wasn't really into the hobby. Just to say, hey, take a look at this. It's rarer than the T206 Wagner, and it predates it by 10 years.
All right. Well, thank you once again, and a pleasure having you on the show.
All right. Thanks for having me.